You want to fight, bro?
Yeah, the Fight Bros podcast. like, all right. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, ready? We count down.
Yeah.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1.
What's up, Fight Bros podcast listeners? We're here on Sunday, November 10th. We're welcoming our 14th podcast.
Ooh,
Just keep knocking them out, man.
yeah. I know I've said it every podcast, but it's crazy. We're at 14. I said that for 10, 11, 12.
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
it's crazy, but as always, I'm Albert Walters III, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. And I'm Marcus Burks.
Oh, man.
So let's jump right into it, man. UFC Fight Night 163 in Russia, Moscow last night. We had Zabit defeated Calvin Kattar via unanimous decision in a 3-round main event. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think what you just said is kind of my thoughts on it. I kind of have a problem with that. A 3-round main event? I mean, what in the world was the UFC thinking? Why should a main event be 3 rounds?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you too because when I sit down and watch this fight, Zabit was doing. I mean, he won the first and second round pretty convincingly. They was going back and forth, but in that third round, Kevin Kattar had him in trouble.
Yeah.
He was in trouble. If this was a 5-round fight, he might have would have put Zabit away. So this is what kind of sucks about it. Like, to the UFC and to all the fighters in the UFC, like I feel like if you're a UFC fighter and you're wanting to get that title shot, yeah, it might be a short noticed 5-round fight, but I mean, I just feel like at this point you're a professional and you always have to stay ready.
Yeah.
So I feel like I don't know whose part it was on. If it was, I know Zabit said yesterday he said he wasn't training and he wasn't ready for a 5-round fight.
That's insane. You're getting a main event of a card. Why are you not ready for 5 rounds?
See, he previously got knocked off one of the pay-per-views a while back because he had staph, but then he was cleared to fight. So I feel like he should have been ready for a 5-round fight.
Yeah.
And but if it was on the UFC's part, you have to pay these guys more money to fight for 5 rounds.
But it's also a little more interesting. But that's just the thing. If you're the main event, you should be ready for a 5 round. If not, they should have gave it to Volkov and Hardy.
Because I feel like this was a big deal. I mean, going down to Russia, you're putting on. I think this is the second card in Russia, first card in Moscow. So I mean, it's a pretty big deal for those people down in Russia. Like, the UFC needs to put out. They need to put out good fight cards for those Russian cards,
viewers,
the Russian viewers.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, eventually, I guess in 2020, they're supposedly doing a card in Russia with Khabib versus Tony Ferguson.
Was that confirmed?
Khabib's confirmed it. Nothing's confirmed by the UFC. I mean, it's got to be next.
Well, yeah.
So hopefully later in 2020, we're going to see just a humongous card in Russia.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know in what, part of Russia it would be in.
Yeah.
I would assume Moscow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as UFC Moscow goes last night, it was just kind of, it was a little depressing, some of the fights. I mean, it was at 2:00 in the evening here. Maybe that goes into it because something about it being at night is just a little more fun. But it was nighttime for Russia. Just time zones make things a little different. But maybe where it was the daytime here, it was just kind of hard to get into this fight. I don't want to say we had no names, but some of the fights before the main 2 fights just kind of weren't raising eyebrows.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you with this one. I was like,
I didn't really know most of the people.
Like, I had some downtime at work, so I could technically sit here and streamed it, but I was like, nah, man, I'm just gonna wait till I get home, and wait till I get home and check out the Greg Hardy versus Volkov fight, and then I wasn't too interested in Zabit versus Kevin Kattar.
I'm right there with
just because I don't know. I feel like they're hyping up Zabit so much. And I don't understand why he was fighting in 11. I mean, Calvin Kattar gave him a good fight, but Calvin Kattar was the 11th ranked featherweight, and Zabit's number 5. I just didn't understand.
Yeah, it's why are you not giving him like a 3 or 4 or something higher?
To me, I feel like Zabit got exposed in this fight, and I do not see him beating Max Holloway.
Is that what's next for him? Probably.
That's what they're acting like. He called out the winner of Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski.
Yeah.
I think Max Holloway's going to keep retaining his title. I just feel like Max Holloway's not really going to be contested until he goes up to 155. You know, we've seen he had problems with Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, yeah.
So I feel like Max Holloway's just going to keep cleaning out that 145-pound division.
Oh, I agree completely with you. So, I mean, yeah, the main event wasn't really much to bat your eye at. I believe if it was 5 rounds, we probably would have seen Calvin Kattar come out on top.
Yeah.
So, but you know what was really interesting that I think everyone had their eyes on was the Greg Hardy and Volkov fight. But I believe that's because Greg Hardy's just kind of you want to see him lose. He's a fan heel, so you want to watch him.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of became a fan of Greg Hardy in some sort yesterday.
A little bit of respect was gained for him,
and I believe in second chances. So I'm sitting here saying I like him. He deserves a second chance. You know what I'm saying? He earned my respect from that fight yesterday.
Yeah, and I was gonna say the same thing. I'm not a fan. It's not that I like him or don't like him. I don't care enough about him, but I have respect. He's a good fighter, great athlete. He has earned my respect.
I mean,
but this is kind of what I said last week. I did not think he was going to get past Volkov.
Yeah,
and because Volkov's a great fighter,
and Volkov's finished some tough heavyweights. I mean, he finished Fabricio Verdum. He finished another top heavyweight at the time. Oh, he finished Stefan Struve. Stefan Struve was the top heavyweight. He's that 7 foot tall heavyweight, the bald guy. Yeah. So, I mean, he's finished some of the top heavyweights, but he couldn't finish Greg Hardy, man.
No. So I mean, Greg Hardy was keeping up too. Now he was eating them. He was eating those punches left and right, but he was also giving them back, and he did a good job.
The first round, I felt like the first round was pretty close. I feel like it could have went Hardy's way.
Yeah.
I feel like Hardy provided more pressure in that first round. He hit him with some heavy shots too. What sucked after that first round, they ended up saying Hardy told his corner his right hand was hurt. I never really seen any information if it was broke or anything, but you could tell he was kind of flexing his right hand, like leaving it down during the fight like it was hurting. So he kept throwing it, but I have a lot of respect for him. I mean, dude.
He took it with 18 days.
He took it with 18 days. You're going to Russia.
In 18 days. Like in 2 weeks, you'd be going to Russia. That's insane.
All the problems that U.S. and Russia has, and you're a United States citizen, and you're going down into enemy territory pretty much on 18-day notice. I mean, I'm not getting political, but I mean, dude,
I was gonna say we're kind of borderline getting political.
Yeah, I'm not getting political. I'm just stating what's going on. I'm not stating my opinion on it. I don't hate Russia or anybody in Russia, but he took that on 18-day notice in enemy territory. When they announced his name, really nobody cheered for him.
Yeah.
He knew. I mean, it was kind of like Rocky going to Russia against that
guy.
Drago.
Yeah, Drago.
and freaking Alexander Volkov's nickname is Drago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, wow. We need a Rocky Balboa to fight him.
Yeah. So I just thought I had a lot of respect for him, and he was like, they asked him why he took it on 18 days notice. He was like, well, I played professional football in the NFL. After the game on Sunday, Monday morning, we're getting ready for our next opponent the next Sunday in 7 days. It's like, when you're a professional athlete, this is what you do. And I was like, that's a good way to put it, man. Yeah,
you've got to have respect for him now, whether you like him or not. You do have to respect the fact that he has proven that he is a good athlete. He beat Volkov. I mean, he almost beat Volkov, but Volkov wasn't one of those low names that he's been fighting. This was a great fighter, and I believe Volkov would definitely be in the top 3 or 4 if it wasn't for his loss against Lewis. Because when he fought Lewis, he was tearing up Lewis the whole time.
Oh, he was going to get a title shot.
Oh, without
Lewis
a doubt.
ended up getting a title shot.
Yeah, I know. And so it's kind of, I feel like Volkov was kind of robbed because he was hit with 1 or 2 really hard hits. But I mean, he was really just tearing up Lewis the entire time. So I think I really believe Volkov's rank doesn't reflect his talent. So for Greg Hardy to fight someone who really could have been, 1, 2, or 3 ranking and do that well, you've got to have respect for him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's why I think Greg Hardy's gonna get another top 10, top 15 fight
yeah, he'll definitely get a
again.
top 10. But who do you think's next for him
I
now?
think Derek Lewis is next for him. I
See,
think
but he lost.
yeah, but I think UFC makes fun. They make fun fights, fun fan
True,
fights. Derek Lewis. Nothing against Derek Lewis, but he's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna win the UFC championship.
probably
I
not.
don't think he is. I don't think even let's
He
say DC beats Stipe the third time. Don't think he beats DC. I don't think he beats
Stipe,
Stipe. I don't think he beats the new
Nagano.
Francis. I mean, he's already
I
beat
don't.
Nagano,
It was kind
but I
of
just
not a
think that
good fight.
Ngannou's mindset now, he's just where he's knocking out everybody,
Yeah,
and
that was a bad day for both of them.
yeah,
That was goes down as the worst fight we've ever
mhm,
seen. Nagano versus Lewis.
yeah.
So
So, but I'm gonna say Greg Hardy. I think Dana White will make it too. Greg Hardy versus Derek Lewis. I think
I,
it'll
I
make sense. Derek
yeah,
Lewis called him out. He called him out and kind of said, "Win or lose, he still wants him."
yeah,
And I mean, I think that's what needs to be. I mean, Derek Lewis just fought the number 15th ranked heavyweight, and I
yeah.
mean, it was a close fight. Arguably, he kind of lost in my eyes, but I think that'd be a fun fight.
Yeah. Well, then, if that happens, then what do you think's next for Volkov? Because I could see them doing a Volkov Lewis too, because I kind of think Volkov deserves it after this win.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm thinking more down the lines of Volkov versus JDS.
The who he was supposed
Yeah,
to fight,
that
but
was
Greg Hardy stepped in for.
that was supposed to be the main event. Was Greg Hardy? I mean, JDS versus Volkov, but JDS ended up getting a real bad like bone marrow infection.
Yeah,
So he had to get off. I assume he's not fully recovered yet, but I would think sometime in 2020 that fight's going to happen. Probably another fight night.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Probably not
yeah,
a pay per view. So oh well. I mean, I'm excited to see what's next for him. I think either one of these guys could be up against Lewis.
yeah.
I would almost put money that one of them will fight Lewis
Mm-hmm.
in 2020. So we have some pretty interesting news with Nate Diaz. Since that's your boy, you want to get into it?
Yeah, so been a lot. Nate Diaz has stayed in the headlines all last week and into this week. He posted on on his Instagram. He said, and everybody thinks it was a retirement. He said, I knew how things were gonna go before the fight even started. He was like, I'm going on tour. Peace out, UFC. And everybody took that as a retirement. And all these fighters were saying, "Well, thank you, Nate, for all you've done." I was like, "What are y'all doing? That's not a retirement." I was like,
It
"He's
kind of
in,
sounds like a
yeah,
retirement, though.
but he's in the prime of his career." And I mean, I've
It's
been a Nate
it's kind of
Diaz
hard to say he's in the prime of his career.
dude. He fought the top contender, George Masvidal.
Yeah, but he's not
Yeah,
like in the prime because he's only had like 2 fights in the last
yeah,
year.
but I mean
Then he was 3 years
his
off.
age. He's in that prime of his career.
And
All the
they
training and
lost against the first contender. I think his prime,
Anthony Pettis was number 7 contender when he
not
beat
not
him.
first contender. No, so I think his prime was when he was like, killing it against McGregor and all that. Like he was fighting all the time, killing it, doing a great job. I feel like that was his prime. I feel like he's on the downhill side of that of that mountain, and he kind of knows it. That's why he's going on a weed tour.
Nah, but so I never bought into that because if you remember what he said during because the UFC's acting like they don't want to give him the Masvidal rematch, and Masvidal's still acting like he wants it, sort of, but says he'll take something else until then. Masvidal at first was like, let's run this back immediately. Then afterwards, I think he talked to the UFC a little bit, and then he was like, after I get the title shot, you can't do it after Masvidal gets the title shot because
He's gonna have to
would
work
have
his
to
way
work his
back
way
up.
up to get the
Yeah.
title shot. So I think if they're gonna do the immediate rematch, it needs to happen first thing in 2020.
I
Uh,
don't think it. I don't think it'll be an immediate rematch. I think they're going to get Masvidal to
yeah.
do a title
Well, I
shot.
mean, if they want money, like if both, like Masvidal said, he was like, uh, he was like, I'm worried about the pay. He was like, if I get paid more to rematch Nate Diaz than I would to fight for the title against Colby Covington and Usman, I'm gonna do that.
Well,
But
yeah.
but then yesterday, Ariel Helwani somehow got in touch with Nate Diaz, and Nate Diaz was like, he asked him if that was a retirement. Nate Diaz said, no, that wasn't a retirement. I'll fight tonight. And I knew that all along. I knew this is just the games Nate Diaz plays. Him and the UFC go back and forth. He knows what the UFC's doing, that they don't want to give him a rematch, which I agree with.
Yeah, I don't think he should get a rematch
Nate Diaz
against
beat
Masvidal right now.
Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
He a couple of months later, he gave Conor McGregor a rematch. He agreed on it. He finished Conor McGregor. Usually finishes don't have to get a rematch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He gave him a rematch. I remember Nate Diaz gave Gray Maynard a couple of rematches. And what he was saying is he was like, I give all these people rematches. I've gave people rematches, and the UFC doesn't want to give me my rematches. They didn't give him that third fight against McGregor.
I think they will eventually.
Yeah, they will eventually, but he wanted it immediately.
I think it should have been,
Yeah.
but maybe the UFC is just smart. They're going to let it build up because when it builds up, it's more interesting.
Yeah,
It's like this is.
But I mean, if Conor loses, then
Yeah.
I mean, it can still happen if Conor
Even if
loses.
he loses,
but-
I think that's probably next because they're both coming off of the loss.
yeah. So I mean, I agree with how Nate's feeling. Like the UFC really hasn't returned rematches in the way, and I'm obviously a Nate Diaz fan, so I'm taking his side on it. But I mean, they really haven't gave him his rematches
Yeah.
like he has gave other people rematches.
Yeah. True.
So I don't know what's next for him. I think if he doesn't get the Masvidal fight, I don't think he'll fight at all in 2020. Maybe him and McGregor might fight in August of 2020, depending on how things go. But I think if they don't give him the Masvidal rematch mid 2020, then he'll just hang out and he could take another 2 years off.
Yeah.
He could just do like Nick, and he said he's never going to formally retire because he said he hates when people like bring their like kid in the octagon and do this like retirement speech and all that, which I understand.
Yeah.
I understand his point of view on that. Like everybody's got their way of doing stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And he just he's a real guy. He's gonna say what's on his mind. So I agree with that. But Nick just kind of rode off into the sunset.
Yeah.
He never gave an official retirement.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of Nick, he's also in the news. So what's going on with that?
So Nick Diaz, we haven't heard anything from him in UFC or ESPN in 5 years. Nick Diaz will appear on Ariel Helwani's ESPN podcast on Monday. He says he's got some stuff to get off his chest, man. That's exciting.
That is very exciting.
We haven't heard from Nick Diaz in 5 years.
Yeah.
Man.
So what do you think Nick Diaz could be getting off of his chest?
Well, Nick Diaz is 35, 36 years old. I think there's a lot of stuff he could say. We really don't know what the Diaz brothers are going to say when you put a microphone in front of their face.
Exactly. Well, what are you speculating from that?
I'm speculating he's going to get on there and pretty much defend Nate. I think he's going to kind of trash the UFC a little bit. Tell him that, he's going to say the fight shouldn't have been stopped, this and that. And I think he's going to say, like, talk about how the UFC needs to give his brother a rematch and that it don't matter. I know some people are speculating he's going to get on there and call out Masvidal because Nick Diaz is a 175-pound fighter and he never officially retired.
Yeah.
And he still trains and stuff. But that brotherhood they got between each other, I remember they asked Nick a while back, they said, do you want to fight Conor McGregor after he beat your brother the second time? And he said, no, that's my brother's battle to fight.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm not fighting my brother. My brother's battle, I'm going to let him get that one.
Yeah.
So I think Nick's going to be the same way again. He's going to be like, my brother has unfinished business with Masvidal. I'm not going to go in there and fight him because that's my brother's fight. I'm not taking my brother's fight.
Exactly.
Yeah. What do you think it could be about?
I just think, he's kind of been quiet for several years. So I think we're just going to hear Nick Diaz probably just go off on a rant. Like, I'm tired of people thinking this. I'm tired of people thinking that. I'm tired of the UFC doing this. I just think, and probably some of the back stuff. Like he's probably going to say the UFC acts like my brother doesn't want to fight, but they actually have only offered him like 2 contracts in 3 years. Like I think we're going to hear that kind of stuff. Like I think we're going to hear his side of the story that contradicts what the news and what the UFC and what other fighters have stated.
Yeah, I
So that's
agree.
because he's talking about getting stuff off his chest. So that's kind of where I think it's
Dude,
going to
I'd,
go.
I'd love for him to fight again because, I mean,
I don't think he's going to fight
in
again.
his heyday, dude, he beat Robbie Lawler when Robbie Lawler was on the top. He beat BJ Penn when BJ Penn was on top. I mean, he just lost to George St. Pierre and Anderson Silva.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if
And they
he's
were
going to
both
fight
by
again.
decision.
I don't think that's what it's about. I just think he's going on a rant. Like I think that's what we're going to hear is him just blow off some steam.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think he's going to say
if
I
he
want to
did,
fight again.
if he did take a fight, it would have it. Would, in my eyes, it would be. I think he would need to take a full training camp.
Yeah, then it would have to be
Like,
someone who is kind of on the
let's
bottom.
say if he was gonna fight, I think if he accepted it in 2020, I would like to see him take a full training camp, maybe end up fighting in May or June. Kind
Yeah.
of take that time because he's been out for a while. I'm a big Nick Diaz fan, but I mean his Instagram story, man, he's out at clubs every night, drinking and doing all this. And I mean, I know he still trains, but there's a difference when you're
Yeah.
actually training for something. You're not doing all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see what happens with that.
Oh, I am too, man. I'm definitely gonna be tuning in Monday
Yeah.
to listen to that.
So more contradictory news in the UFC is Corey Anderson was fined $10,000 for his post-fight actions at UFC 244.
Yeah.
Now,
that's
what's your
ridiculous.
thoughts on this?
That's ridiculous.
You think it's
because-
ridiculous?
Yeah, because so many other people get away with worse.
Dude, I
Like,
agree completely.
Connor gets away with worse. Jon Jones gets away with worse. The way I look at it is Corey Anderson was right. Dana White and the UFC. I don't know. It might have been the New York Athletic Commission that did it, but Dana can fight. He can fight that.
Yeah.
I believe they don't like him, and they didn't like that he kind of went up against them and told the truth what went on in their phone call before his fight.
Yeah.
I think they really do hate him.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, and I mean, my God, let's look at what happened with when McGregor fought Khabib. I mean, his teammates jumped in the ring and ganged up on McGregor.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any kind of reprimand for that?
I believe there was it was something, but I mean McGregor's done so much, man,
Well, yeah, but
and
I'm
the
saying
UFC just keeps letting him get away with it.
Dude, that's
they're
what-
not really like the old man punching in the bar. The UFC didn't do anything
No.
about that. That he got dealt with. He got fined $1,000 for punching that old man in the face by law enforcement.
yeah,
So I mean, you punch somebody in the face, get $1,000. Like Corey Anderson,
and that was fined by the law, not by the
yeah,
UFC.
Corey Anderson literally, all he did was he was so hyped up on adrenaline, the ref grabbed him up and he just kind of acted like he was gonna,
Go through the ref
go
and
through
keep-
the ref. But I mean, he stopped after
Yeah,
a
he's-
couple of seconds,
And he didn't even
Yeah.
actually. Now, I get it. If the ref would have called the fight and he would have
Yeah.
said, "Screw you, ref," pushed him off
Uh-huh.
and kept fighting
Oh
his
yeah,
opponent.
definitely.
Yeah, I think fine him $10,000 and you're probably done after that.
Mhm.
But he was hyped. I don't think this deserves it. If you're not going to give this same type of reprimand towards the
And they
rest of your
don't, man.
fighters.
The UFC, that's the only thing I feel like is flawed about it. I like Dana White somewhat, but I don't like how he did Woodley.
No,
I don't
no.
I feel like he kind of did Woodley the same way as Corey Anderson. If you speak up against him, Nate Diaz speaks up against him, but Nate Diaz has a crazy fan following. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
He
it's
has so
the
many
UFC's
fans.
hands are tied with Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
They're kind of where he is such a big name.
Mhm.
He's able to do that. And
He stands up against the man, but so many people are behind him with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of hard to. I mean, you have to respect someone who's going to stand up against the man,
Yeah.
knowing that they're standing up alone. Corey Anderson wasn't really that big of a name before. He's not that big of a name now, but he's a great fighter.
Yeah.
But he was never a huge name, and so he knows he doesn't have a huge fan group that's going to stand behind him and say you're right. So you've got to have respect for him to do that. But I just don't agree with how the UFC's been doing it.
I don't agree with it either, man. I feel like they're going to end up doing him like Woodley. Like Woodley, he's possibly having to fight Leon Edwards when a lot of other people got an immediate title shot
Yeah.
against the person that beat him.
Oh, I agree completely.
I don't know. I think they're going to end up screwing Corey Anderson over, and they're going to end up giving Dominic Reyes the title shot, which we'll get into in a minute. But before we get into that, Kevin Gastelum was also fined $1,000 for his weigh-in controversy.
His weigh-in controversy was his coach was touching his shoulder or something like that, or leaned up against him. Now with that, by the way he was leaning up against him, would that increase or decrease his weight?
It can play and decrease. Usually when somebody touches you or an object's touching you, it'll decrease.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like if his coach was like leaning on him, it would increase. But like if he was kind of like
he kind of was like his shoulder was the kind of nudging him, kind of a slight lean.
Yeah. Well, see then.
I don't think it's a big deal, but Kevin Gastelum, he moved up to 185. I don't understand. He was having a problem making weight at 170. Dude, you literally get an extra 15 pounds. I think it's just on him, man. Like,
was his weight even close?
Yeah, he was having trouble making weight 15 in a 15-pound heavier weight class than he was fighting at. Yeah, he was having trouble.
Okay, so he was like right over the edge, right? Right under it. I mean,
yeah, with him, you can kind of look at him and tell he doesn't eat right and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he just kind of. And and coaches and stuff have said that before. You know, he likes to eat, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. But I mean, in his profession. You gotta watch it.
Yeah.
Because he can't go fight at 205.
No,
he's too small for that.
Not at all. Yeah. So what were you about to get into?
So next we're getting into, following Corey Anderson still. Jon Jones and his coach have stated that they have looked at film of both Corey Anderson and Dominic Reyes. Jones and his team has said they choose to fight Dominic Reyes next because he is more dangerous. He is more of a threat. They say they want the top threats. And they feel like he's more of a threat than Corey Anderson.
Now, what do you agree with that? Do you think
I don't agree with that?
You don't?
But me and you was about to dive into this. We're about to look at both of their resumes. Who has the better resume?
Okay.
So let's dive into Corey Anderson. UFC 244. Johnny Walker. He's this monster that just walked into the UFC, knocking out everybody. He comes up against Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson TKOs him in the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he beat Johnny Walker, which was supposed to be the next person to beat Jon Jones. So that's Corey Anderson 2019. 2018, Corey Anderson beats top contender Ilir Latifi. Ilir Latifi was a top 10 fighter. He beat Glover Teixeira. Glover Teixeira was top 10 at that point. He beat Patrick Cummins.
Yeah.
Patrick Cummins was top 15. Corey Anderson, he beat OSP in 2017. He beat Jimmy Manuel.
Yeah.
He's beat all these top guys who have fought Jon Jones for a title.
So let's hear Dominic Reyes.
Corey Anderson's last loss was in 2016 against Mauricio Shogun.
Oh, wow. That's
former
crazy.
champion.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's actually fighting this week.
Who?
Mauricio.
Yeah,
Shogun.
he is. Yep.
But, okay, so now what about Dominic Reyes? What's his resume look like?
I'm about to look it up, but right off the top of my head, Dominic Reyes, all he did was beat Chris. I know Chris Weidman's a big name, but Chris Weidman was moving up to 205. He was making his 205 debut against Dominic Reyes, a real 205er. And I don't believe you should be rewarded with a title shot after beating
someone who's introduced to that round. I mean that weight class. Yeah. Oh, I agree completely.
Sorry about that. It's taking a minute.
You're okay, man.
So here we go. Dominic Reyes' last couple of fights. So he beat Chris Weidman, welcoming somebody to the 205 division. I don't believe that rewards a title shot. He beat Volkan Ozdemir. Now remember, Volkan Ozdemir was a title contender against DC. A lot of people didn't like that. Dominic Reyes beat Volkan Ozdemir by a third round decision. Ozdemir, he's really not a contender anymore. I mean, he's still in that top 10, but so a lot of people felt like Volkan Ozdemir beat Dominic Reyes. He didn't beat him clean. Dominic Reyes beat OSP by decision. Corey Anderson has OSP on his record. Let's see. Dominic Reyes 2018 beat Jared. I don't know how to pronounce this name. Cannonier.
We're gonna go with it.
Jared Cannonier is a top 185 pounder right now. He is not a 205er.
No,
I don't. You know what I'm saying? Looking at this resume, and that's just his last, and that was his
Last few
last. Yeah,
fights.
that was his last
Yeah.
4 fights. Looking at the resume, Corey Anderson has a better resume.
Yeah, exactly. Well, part of me just thinks Jones is acting like Woodley when Woodley got comfortable with his belt. I think that's how Jones is acting. I think he wants the fight, and he's going to say, "Oh, it's harder," but it's not actually
Yeah,
harder.
dude. See, I think this would make sense. Remember, on our first couple of podcasts, we talked about an incident between Corey Anderson came to Jon Jones was doing a meet and greet in Corey Anderson's hometown. Corey Anderson came to his meet and greet and was talking trash to him, like
Yeah,
mad trash, right there at his meet and greet. Like, I think there's a build up for this.
yeah,
I think it would sell. Like, I understand Dana White and them, but to a point, Corey Anderson just blasted Johnny Walker.
yeah,
He just
yeah,
blasted Johnny Walker. You usually, I know Dana said in the past, like if two contenders are right there for a title shot, it really matters what the last person did and how they did it.
yeah.
I remember Dana said something like that before. So I just think Corey Anderson makes more sense.
Oh, I agree completely.
Yeah.
I think Jones is taking the easy way out
Yeah.
if he does. If he picks Reyes.
And I'm a Corey Anderson fan now. I listened to a podcast a while back. I think it was while I was still in college. I listened to a podcast with him about with Joe Rogan. He's a really
Yeah,
down to earth guy. He likes to hunt and stuff. I just thought he was a cool guy. Once
yeah,
you get to know him as a person, I like Corey Anderson. So, and
yeah,
I'm obviously not a Jon Jones fan, so I want Corey Anderson to
yeah,
get this, man.
yeah. I agree.
We need somebody to get that title off Jon Jones.
Oh, I agree. I agree. So moving on, we've got Darren Till calling out Romero.
Oh, he don't want that.
You don't think he wants? You don't think Romero wants that, or you
No,
don't think
Darren
Till
Till
wants?
don't want that. Darren Till got knocked out by 170-pound Masvidal. You don't want Masvidal's training partner that's a monster.
Yeah. So Romero. So he calls out Romero on social media, and then he kind of took it back the next day. Didn't he say he was drinking? Or am I
Yeah,
getting that mixed
he
up?
said when you had a little bit too much to drink and you wake up the next morning and realize you just called out Yoel Romero.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
So I mean, I
That's
think he's calling out Romero still. I think he's just kind of joking
Kind
about
of
it.
making a joke about it.
Um,
Okay. Well then. So Romero. So Dana White said Romero is about to be booked for a fight soon. Then the winner of that fight will get to fight Israel Adesanya for the belt. Who do you think Romero is going to get to fight? Then the winner of that get to fight Adesanya for the belt. Do you think it's going to be
So, dude, I think there's a lot of options
yeah.
for who could fight Yoel Romero. I know earlier I said to you, UFC could make Robert Whitaker. UFC sometimes will give title shots to the champion who just lost the title.
Yeah.
So I think we could see that grudge match against Robert
Romero
Whitaker.
and Whitaker?
That would be an awesome.
That would be
fight.
great for publicity. So
Yes.
then you can see Whitaker start working his way back up the ladder.
So we could see, Robert Whitaker and Romero. We could see Romero versus Jarrett Coroner, who I was just talking about.
Yeah.
He's number 4. He is pretty close to a title shot. If you beat Romero, you obviously deserve a title shot.
Yeah.
So we could see that.
What if they did a Romero and Paulo Costa again?
Well, Costa's out. Remember, Costa
I
was
forgot about that.
he
He's
was
out.
supposed to be getting the title shot.
Yeah,
but now
you're
since
right.
he's out, or we could see I think we're either going to see Romero, Coroner, Romero Till, or Romero Whitaker.
I think
don't-
Romero Whitaker is what we're going to see because it's the biggest fight that'll sell. Because who the hell are the rest of those people? Now, I'm
Yeah.
not saying we don't know them, but I'm saying what is their status compared to Whitaker?
Yeah, and I agree.
And so
I don't
this
think
would be-
Robert Whitaker wants this fight because if you look at it, I watched some show the other day and they broke it down like this. They said, look at the past couple of people who has got hands put on them by Romero. Their career has went in the drain.
Yeah.
Luke Rockhold got knocked out by Romero.
Yeah.
Dude, he just got knocked out his last 2 fights.
Yeah.
Robert Whitaker fought Romero the first time. The second time, Romero potentially won. It was even closer. But, I mean, Robert Whitaker, he just took a lot of damage in those 2 fights. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly. So I don't think, although he beat
Mm-hmm.
Romero twice, I I could see the UFC saying no, like it's not a trilogy.
Yeah.
But I could also see them saying, "Hey, bring us money."
Yeah.
So, and oh my God, what a fight that would be! Like I think we
Yeah.
would see. I think we'd see Romero kill it. Like I think,
Yeah. I think Romero just keeps getting better, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think he would pounce like the puma he is,
Yeah.
and just destroy Whitaker. But we're gonna see. I'm excited for that. I don't think Till's gonna get that fight.
No, I
Then
don't
the
think he
winner
deserves
of
it.
Till and Romero gets
I don't think he
gets
wants that.
Adesanya. Yeah, I don't think so
He's
either.
too young, man. They need to keep building his brand.
Yeah, I agree completely.
They rushed him into that title shot with Woodley. He got sparked by Woodley. It was just too rushed.
I agree.
You should have let him build his brand. He's one of the top fighters in England, and you should have let him build his brand.
Yeah, yeah. So so I'm hoping that's what happens with Romero as he gets Whitaker. So moving on, we've got Tyson Fury posted a training video.
Oh yeah,
and so he's training with Darren Till.
Yeah, dude, I love this.
And for those of you who don't know, Tyson Fury is one of the biggest names in the boxing world.
Yeah, he's ESPN top ranked boxing champion right now.
Yeah, number one, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's training with Darren Till, and he says he wants to come to the UFC in 2021 after he fights after he fights who again?
He's got to have that rematch with Deontay Wilder.
Deontay Wilder. And then he said he's considering fighting whoever wins against Reyes and Anthony Joshua.
Yep, Reyes is the WEC champion right now, something like that. There's all the kinds of these different boxing commissions, but they eventually they'll make these fights happen.
Yeah, so he said he might fight the winner of that. But he's really fighting the Deontay Wilder next year, and so he wants to come to the UFC in 2021. I'm excited. He looked like he would be a great at MMA. Mm-hmm. He was throwing knees, he was throwing elbows,
powerful
and punches.
Too, man.
Oh, powerful! I think he would come into the heavyweight realm and kill it. I don't think anybody in our heavyweight realm would be able to stand it.
Dude, I think other than DC, nobody in the heavyweight division really wrestles. It's mainly just boxing, stand up. So I don't understand. I don't understand why you wouldn't be successful.
No, dude. Well, could you imagine him and Ngannou? Oh my God,
dude! They talked on Twitter. Yeah. They were going back and forth on Twitter. They want it.
Yeah, dude, that would be an incredible fight of two like mechas. Oh my God, I want that to happen.
Dude, I love Tyson Fury, man. He's the ultimate entertainer. The cool thing about him, man, and I think I remember telling you this before, so he was a boxing champion for a long time. He ended up getting into drugs. He gained a bunch of weight. I think he was up to like 400 and some pounds.
Nice.
He attempted suicide. He had a failed suicide attempt. I can't remember what he did, but whatever he did, it didn't work. And then he comes back, man. He fought those demons. He comes back. He starts training for like a year and a half, loses a ton of weight, man. I mean, he just beat all the obstacles in his way. He comes back. He fights a bunch of people. Then he ends up fighting Deontay Wilder. Him and Deontay Wilder go to a draw. A lot of people think Tyson Fury won that based on how boxing's supposed to be scored.
Mm-hmm.
And then, then he comes to he signs a humongous deal with ESPN. Then he goes over to the WWE and fights Braun Strowman. He's just the ultimate entertainer.
Killing it, man.
He's just killing it, man.
He's going to be the next Dwayne The Rock.
And I stated this on my Twitter account. I said if Tyson Fury can beat Deontay Wilder, then come over to the UFC and win the UFC championship, he's hands down the best combat athlete ever.
I can't disagree with that. I mean, I'll say for his weight class.
Yeah.
Because we've got people like Mighty Mouse killing it all around the globe as well.
Yeah, but I'm saying he boxes.
He's boxing. He's going to the MMA, and he's going to WWE.
Yeah. Now I know WWE's
it's fake,
it's sports
but it's cool.
entertainment, but it's
cool.
still a sports aspect. So I think he would be the best combat athlete ever.
It's hard to put that as far as his combat record.
Yeah,
but it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a cool thing to add to it to make it to say not only are you a great fighter, you're a great selling point. So I want to see him come to the UFC. I want to see him kill it.
Yeah.
I want to see him and Ngannou go at it.
Dude, I think he could, man. After all he's already been through, he got off those addictions he was on, lost all that weight. Like, dude, if you can do all that and come back and win titles and just keep going from where you left off, I think he can do anything he puts his mind to.
Oh, I agree completely. So let's hope that happens in 2021.
Oh yeah.
That's his goal. That's our goal. I want to see this happen. So, oh man. So this Saturday we have Fight Night 164 coming up. Anything that's really sticking out to you?
Well, see, this is the problem. Like UFC, they keep putting on cards every weekend, and I know they have a deal with ESPN now, so ESPN is requiring them to put on
A card every week.
I think a card a month, but they're still
Well,
putting
I think
on their
it's
fight
one
night.
pay-per-view a month, but I
No.
think it has to be 3 fight nights a month.
Yeah, so it's something like that. So I mean, with this new deal with ESPN, they're having to put on so many fights, and
I think they get 1 week off every month.
yeah.
I think
so
I think
know.
whether it's pay-per-views, fight nights, whatever, I think it's 1 week off a month.
So let's see. They'll fight this fight next weekend, and then they're
This
fighting
weekend, that's like,
yeah.
like 6 days away.
So they're fighting this fight next weekend. Then they'll fight again December 7th in Washington, D.C.
And then again December 14th.
14th. Yeah, and
that's a pay-per-view.
yeah, and then I think there's a little break from there. But I
Yeah.
mean, there's a break after this week. There's going to be what, 2 weekends without fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be a little break.
Yeah, that
But
won't
really,
be bad.
the next good card isn't until December 14th.
Yeah, so this ain't really a great card. Like, the only person's name I know is Sueza. Ronaldo Sueza fighting for the main event.
Yeah, so
That's it, 'cause
that's a good main event because I think it's Jan Blachowicz. He is fighting Jacare Souza, the guy who does the after he gets the knockouts, he does those alligator.
The
arms.
alligator.
Gotta love him. So that's gonna be a good fight. I'll probably try to tune into that main event.
Yeah.
I like Shogun Rua. I've heard of Paul Craig before. I don't know too much about him, but I would like to see Mauricio Shogun Rua get back on the winning track. I mean, he's a legend to the sport.
And so what about the third main event?
The third fight on this main card is Charles Oliveira versus Jared Gordon. Charles Oliveira is a very good up and coming 145 pounder. I believe he's in the UFC record books for most submissions right now. I think he passed Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz was up top for the most submissions, and I think he's passed Nate Diaz. I believe he is number one. Charles Oliveira, I believe. I'm not sure. I could be wrong on that, but Charles Oliveira, he's becoming a contender to that 145-pound division.
Yeah. So I mean, do you have any predictions for any of it? I think our predictions are going to be pretty the same.
I don't know. Jan Blachowicz, I think he's the guy that just knocked out Luke Rockhold senseless. So
I can't even remember.
So remember, Rockhold came back. He came back and he moved up to 205. And
After
he looked
Romero.
jacked.
Yeah,
he looked jacked. But then he had to face a real person.
Oh, and they were making fun of his soft chin.
Yeah, Jan Blachowicz, and Jan Blachowicz put him to sleep. So he's facing Jacare Souza. Jacare Souza is moving up to 205. He was a big middleweight, dude.
Yeah.
I think this is a good move for him.
I think so.
I think it's a tough fight, but I'm going to be rooting for Jacare Souza.
Will you? You know what? Screw it. I'm going to go for Blachowicz.
Okay.
Why not?
Yeah.
Just to mix it up. As far as the rest of them, though, I got to agree with you. I'm going to go for Rua.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Shogun Rua. I'd like to see him get back on the winning track.
Yeah. And, Paul Craig, he has 2 first names. Like, it's hard to root for that guy.
Yeah.
So sorry, Paul Craig, Ricky Bobby.
And with Charles Oliveira, I'm going to go Charles Oliveira.
I've got to agree. Yeah. Just because you're telling me his record, and
yeah,
that's all I know about him. So why not? But I'll be excited for the main event to see, who's right, you or me. So all right, man. Yeah. Well, any last notes?
No, I think we're about ready to wrap it up, man.
Yeah. Well, episode 14, just wrapping it up. It's insane, man. I can't believe we're killing it.
Oh no, man, and it looks like our videos are starting to get a little bit shorter. I know people were recommending that. So.
Yeah.
So we're trying, guys.
Yeah, so maybe, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you, everybody, and, appreciate the support.
Remember, we're on YouTube and Spotify.
And that's...
And Anchor, too. Well, no, we aren't really recording the Anchor no more, are we?
Well, no, like, we use Anchor to outsource it to, Spotify, iHeart.
Okay, yeah, so we're still on Anchor, but...
Yeah. We're on Anchor just to, bring it out to all these other, download... podcast website. So I mean, if anybody decides they want to listen on any other platform, it takes one link. It's so easy. So all right, well, thank you, everybody.
Yep, thanks for listening, guys. Until next time.